Jedi business, go back to your drinks.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, what's going on, Manny?
Okay, just want to say welcome. Everybody's welcome. Old fans, new fans. The latest edition of Jedi Business. Join here today with my friend Paul. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about some spoiler talk about Acolyte Episode 5. Um, Paul, I know you've been haven't been like the biggest fan of this particular series, but um, overall, just before we get into actual discussion on the episode itself, what are your thoughts so far of the series and of this particular episode? Did you think it? I mean, because we are over halfway through, so you can't sit
Yeah,
there, you can't sit there and say, "Hey, well, we got to see what's going to happen." We pretty got a good idea what this show's about and everything. But anyways,
y-
what are your overall?
yeah. So I think it's pretty clear we know where things are headed. I would actually, if I had to rank this show with the other shows that have come before, I mean, I would rank this at the bottom, and that's really from no other standpoint other than probably just more of looking at it, trying to look at it from like a 30,000 foot view and saying, hey, if you want to talk about the acting, you want to talk about the writing, sort of plotting. There's just some misses. There's some things certainly early on that got my attention. I mean, I give every show an opportunity to impress me, and it just felt like they missed the mark. I thought one of the weirdest things, even I think it would have been episode 2. I think when they talked about or they actually showed sort of the backstory of the little girls and that sort of culture where they grew up. They didn't even cast two identical twins, which just threw me for a loop. I'm like, well, okay, they're fraternal twins, but you even made a point in one of the episodes. I mean, that was the whole thing. They've done sort of a
Look
body swap,
exactly alike. Yeah.
and I could tell that from the get go. And I'm like, what? I mean, have they not seen the Parent Trap from Disney, either the '61 version or the '89 version? I mean, even if you're using the same actor and you decide to go ahead and film separate scenes, it ain't rocket science. So I mean, I
Not,
don't
not,
know.
not only that, but one thing I've noticed, especially with these Disney shows, is they do this 30-minute episode, and it's like, in the old days when you had a series go to series, you'd have what, a 22 episode, and you'd get those episodes where it's just filler. But on streaming, you can make as many episodes as you like and as long as you'd like. And I just feel at 30-minute episodes, you're not really getting enough of the characters. I mean, obviously, we'll get into this episode, but there were some deaths, and
Well,
and
yeah, I think
people even
maybe
care
that could.
about them. And it's like I felt they could have gave us an hour more on the backstory, because it's just weird when you mention the little girl. It's like it's just weird. She goes from May goes from "I love you, don't go away" to "I'm gonna kill you."
Well, exactly. I think when to me, that's sort of the glaring plot point that seems to be really a miss, not a hit. Is this their motivation, right? The motivation for the quote unquote evil twin to get back at her sister. I don't know if she's feeling like somehow she abandoned her and her clan, but or was the cause of all that. But obviously in reality, she played the part in creating the fire that sort of destroyed everything. And I just feel like it just, to me, that doesn't resonate as enough motivation to go after your sister, or certainly the Jedi in this case. She went after each of the four, which again,
Although the way they're playing it, something else happened, because when that fire happened and they go to see all the rest, they're passing the rest of the witches. They're all dead, and when they're dealing with Osha, I don't know if you noticed this, but I forgot the Padawan's name, the guy who uh, got taken over, but he's got the scar in the background. So there was some kind of fight that they're not showing us. Obviously they're not showing us. So something
right.
happened.
Well, there's things that I guess apparently we're supposed to figure out off screen, because I doubt it's going to get wrapped up in the next episode. But there's things that I kind of scratch my head. Even the actor that plays the stranger, I guess is what they've titled him now. The I
Smilo
don't know.
Ren.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because again, this is another sort of way, in my opinion, how Disney likes to sort of either ignore or kind of push to the side the original trilogy and sort of the era that we grew up with, even the prequel trilogy to a certain extent. And they're really trying to overlay their characters, their themes, and everything since they've taken over the franchise. And so it's funny, because obviously the mask is the same design that we've seen with like Kylo Ren, where they put it back together. I forget the Japanese technology, that there's a word for it that they use to sort of make the armor or make the metal kind of bringing it back together if it's been broken, right? There's a whole thing behind it. Obviously, that's sort of introduced in this character, and then it carries forward in Kylo Ren's character, and then you see it again, obviously, in the Ahsoka series with some of the troopers, the Night Sister troopers from, over in, I forget the world that they're in, over in Thrawn's universe, I guess you could say. So it just feels kind of like, okay, well, we see you're pushing your narrative, or at least your look of the Star Wars universe, and I don't mind.
I know you're online. I get your links from Instagram and stuff, but are you on Twitter at all?
No.
Okay, well, Twitter's really a bastion of I don't know how I don't know how to put it, but they really go back and forth, and I don't know if it's crossed over into any of the other social medias, but there's a huge fight right now going back and forth between, I guess what you'd say, the old Star Wars fans and the new ones.
Right.
And it's gotten toxic just because supposedly if you don't like this show, you're instantly called a homophobe or a racist or misogynist. And if you do like the show, you're like a Disney shill that's somehow paid by them. And I don't know if that's gone over, if you've heard about anything like that, but
I mean, just sort of on sort of the outskirts, or in a sense, I've heard about these things, but since I'm not on there actively, I don't see it, I don't read it. Honestly, it's probably a reflection of where society's at right now. We see it in politics, we see it in other areas too. I think that's just
seeing it in the WNBA right now. It's crazy. Anyways, okay, well, let's take it back to this episode. That's our overall thought. But okay, so it picks up, and again, going back to my thoughts about the episodes being too short, last episode, nothing really happened, and it gets real exciting at the end. I really thought, last episode and this episode would have made a good 1 hour episode. But anyways, beyond that, it does pick up right into the fight. And I don't know, what did you think of the fight? It's getting a lot of hype online, even from people that don't like the show. They're saying, well, it was at least a really good fight.
Well, I think from beginning to end, in other words, it wasn't just one particular sequence, but all of the sequences in this last episode were probably, in my opinion, the best of all of the fight sequences today in the series. And I don't know if that's just a natural progression of the actors and the choreographers over the course of the series when they're filming, because it did look better, but it looked tighter. But I did think that early on there was kind of some issues I had, but I started thinking how many of these actors had prior training. It's not that simple to pick up techniques and learn how to do all this stuff on the fly. So unless you've had previous training,
one that I thought really did well was the character Jackie, the Padawan, George Padawan, but she was X-23, so she's
Daphne Keenan. I think she, as an actress, she obviously has been either keeping up her skills or she has a natural ability. But you're right, and I think overall they did a good job. I am a little bit confused, though. I don't know if you picked up on this. Maybe I missed it. I've seen it twice now, but the episode. But why were the lightsabers sparking at times? Was that something?
No, I didn't get that either until I saw online that it's actually a medal from the EU. Even though Kathleen Kennedy seems to be hating on the EU a lot, that's actually an EU medal. I don't know. I don't got I was looking.
We've seen it
or something where it actually shorts out the lightsaber. So that actually has been in canon, quote unquote, before.
Well, we've seen it with Beskar armor to some extent, so maybe they're trying to introduce the concept early on, since the show takes place about 100 years before anything that we've seen before. So it's possible. I kind of, that crossed my mind, but
I thought it was Beskar at first, but then I was like, why does it keep shorting out? I didn't
right,
understand it, but it was like I said later. But what did you think? Or okay, so they're on a mission. This goes a little bit back to last episode.
yeah.
Why take so many Jedi? Was it because a Jedi was being killed? I mean, I
Well,
liked it, although people complained it looked too much like Lord of the Rings, them walking.
oh
But
no, I get that. I kind of felt that too. It's kind of like, I guess you could argue after the fact it was probably, even though they all pretty much got killed, I guess it made sense to bring more with them, but it just seemed premature. In other words, why would they have assumed that they needed to bring a dozen people or however many they had? It seemed like it was a pretty good sized bunch, and I thought the
yeah,
same thing.
let's see,
But
I got one, two, three, four, five extra Jedi besides the main guys. It's like we've never seen that in the show where they even for when they went to Naboo, they send Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
right,
They didn't send a bunch of Jedi's. I mean, I like it because I like seeing a bunch of Jedi's together, but it just what it really felt
well,
like was okay. We know people need to die, so we're gonna
right.
take our and
Well,
they don't have any of them talk. We don't know anything about them, and I mean, I don't think they said a word, or we learned their names, and they're just there for to die.
Well,
Like
that's why it kind of, supposedly, I'm assuming these were either Jedi Knights, or I don't know about Masters. I know the Master Soul was obviously a Jedi Master, but I kind of got the sense that they all felt like, to me, like they were all Padawans. It's like they were kind of like downgraded in terms of power as far as what they were able to do as a Jedi. I thought it was weird. It's like, okay, that's a weak way of basically bringing all these characters to kill them, kind of like you said. But on the flip
they
side,
might as
I
well have
also,
been wearing red shirts, right?
that's right. That's right. That's kind of exact. That's a good analogy. But I just thought to myself, I thought back to one of the earlier episodes. Another thing I had an issue with was sort of the reverse when they went. I forget where they went. Um, it's kind of like, why didn't you bring a few more people with you? There was a point there where I thought, this seems kind of weird. Why wouldn't you bring your Padawan with you if you wanted to show them the ropes, right? In
Yeah,
other words,
exactly.
where was Jackie then? Nowhere. It was like, and even Fandar, the other Jedi Knight, is like, where was? Didn't he have a Padawan at some point?
Yeah, I'm not. I think
But
he did.
I'm just thinking, it
Sure.
just felt kind of like, well, you're not bringing enough people there, so it's
Yeah.
just weird. That's part of the feeling I've had throughout the whole series, which is it's uneven. Whether it's the acting, whether it's the pacing, whether it's the writing, all of that.
So do you think it is? It, do you think it could be? Well, like what I was talking about, the episodes are just so short. I mean, they're 30 minutes, but then with opening previously on and the credits, you got to be some of them like 20 something minutes. I mean, that's nothing.
It doesn't help. I'll say that, right? In other words, it should be a little bit longer. We've heard that about other Disney series too, though. Gosh, why isn't it another 10 or 15 minutes longer? Because that gives you a lot more time to try and flesh out characters, to try and explain a little bit more in the plot. So, yeah, it doesn't help, that it's shorter than maybe it could or should be. Um,
Okay, so Osha wakes up after
uh-huh.
in the beginning of the episode. She hears the sound of the lightsaber, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, Again, she wakes up to a dead Jedi, but do we really feel anything? Because we didn't even hear him talk the previous episode. We don't know who he is. It didn't mean nothing. And then during the fight, I actually like the fight when it shows him in the trees and he's fighting the four other Jedi's. But why are suddenly lightsabers deadly again? One of them takes a half slice to the belly, but Reva, and we're going back to Obi-Wan,
Right.
one of us stuck her through the chest with a lightsaber, and she was able to suddenly just show up back on Tatooine. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Well, that all goes to writing, and I guess whatever direction the director wants to go to make it either more or less exciting, I guess, for something to happen or not. But to me, it's yes, that could be a problem. I mean, I think, in other words, that consistency. It seems
yeah.
uneven. Where's the consistency and the logic, if nothing else, right? So,
But I like that fight. I like when he stuck someone and then he used the force to pull another one on. I overall I like the fight. I thought it was pretty good. But where were Soul and Jackie? I mean, obviously he blasted them all, everyone apart, but where were they so far away that one.
Yeah, I think that's good. I also just I'm looking because I'm actually having to look at the cast list right now, and a few things stick out to me in relation to that. Is why not give an opportunity? It wasn't based on budget. The guy's already in the suit, and he's played the character a few times. Obviously, he played a Wookiee previously, but the actor that took over the mantle of Chewbacca, Suotomo, who is his last name, but Master Kelnaka, the Wookiee. Why didn't we see more of him?
Oh,
To
yeah.
me,
You
that
know, actually, there's a good video. I should send it to you. Uh, John Campia show. He did one where he was talking about how that was a complete failure because they set up Kelnaka the
yeah,
episode before. They show him and they show him, like, okay, well, he's coming. Here we go,
right,
Jedi Wookiee. Okay, they set it all up. It was leading up to that. You knew she had to fight him, and then to suddenly just walk in there and he's dead. That was
exactly.
and
That
then
was
and
weak.
I guess supposedly the showrunners are saying they had to cut it out, that scene of him fighting, because of budgetary concerns. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
They
It's like,
look how much they spent on the budget as if they're talking about special effects for lightsabers, which should have, if you're talking about usage and bringing down the cost of things over time. I mean, they've been doing lightsaber effects for 40 years, especially the last since the prequel trilogy, online with CGI. It shouldn't have been any added cost. I think it's just an excuse.
yeah,
Um, and it talk about wasted characters. I think we've seen everything we're going to see on Carrie Ann Moss's character, Master Andara. I thought, again, a wasted opportunity to show a little bit more depth, maybe interaction between two masters. But more
yeah,
importantly, they build up the series by showing her in the trailers. And obviously, it's Carrie Ann Moss, and a Trinity from,
yeah. Well,
Matrix.
I think we might see her in the flashback when they expose it. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to say, that the Jedi are evil or something. I don't know what they're
Yeah.
trying to say. But, anyways, okay. So after the fight, he has Yord. Smilo Ren has Yord down, about to kill him. But instead of killing him, he goes after Osha.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was a problem a couple times. He had a couple of them on the ropes, ready to go, and he just leaves for no other reason than, okay, we don't need this character to die yet. So
What,
Osha runs away. Why
yeah.
not? Why not finish Yord? And then also, why go after Osha? He had nothing. He had nothing on. No connection to her per se. And why was Soul so far away that Osha takes off running? He's chasing him, and then suddenly Soul shows up.
You,
You know
you
what I'm
know
saying?
exactly. I mean, that's another issue that's bugging me, which is he's all over the place, and I guess that goes towards plotting and the writing of the episodes. It just feels like, first of all, you introduce this guy as a little humble shop owner. I guess they tried to play it off like, Palpatine, and then all of a sudden the big reveal that he's Emperor Palpatine or the Sith
Yeah, yeah,
Lord, right? So you try and do the same thing here. I'm not buying it. Part of the problem is the actor. I was trying to figure out what was bothering me, and it really
because
kind
he
of
looked like Ezra Miller.
well, there's that. But it's his tone, it's his cadence. He reminds me. I was watching it today, and I laughed. If you watch the first Point Break with Keanu, and he kind of sounds like a surfer dude, like, hey, dude,
Whoa.
and I kind of felt like, okay, this is just he just doesn't come across as a believable bad, especially if he's supposed to be a big bad. I mean, if he's sort of
Is he, or is
because
he the apprentice?
well, he will likely be the one that somehow Soul failed or turned his back on or something. I'm sure that's what's going to show up in the last episode. But
Do you like
uh,
his outfit per se? I mean,
no, I do not like it. I mean, the stupid smile on it, it looks like something should be on a World War II fighter plane. Not. I mean, come
I
on.
didn't mind it, but I didn't mind it. But a question I have is, why wear a mask anyways? I guess he says he's trying. And you know what's crazy is, we don't, even though Leslie Headland said that this show is about the Sith, do we really know that he's a Sith? One, because he doesn't actually say he's a Sith. He says, you might call me a Sith. And then we'll get into this a little bit later when we talk about the end. But when he force heals uh, Osha at the end, they got Kylo Ren's music. So there's been a little rumor. I was like, okay, so is he the first knight of Ren? And does that, if they find that out, does that mean uh, Kai Monday's saying in the Phantom Menace that there hadn't been Sith for a millennia, that helps not break the canon by having them be Sith, because it's like if they're Sith, why
Well,
would they say that years later?
yeah, that would make more sense. It just kind of feels like, to me, a wasted opportunity, though. Why not talk about the Sith? That's what most fans probably want to watch. I don't know anyone that really has a Jonesin to see. God, I need to find out why the Knights of Ren existed or why they came about. I don't know anyone that gives a rip about that. I
Well,
think
when they announced the show, they said it was going to be like, I figured it'd be kind of like, okay, well, it's the beginning, not maybe not of Palpatine, or maybe not even of Pelagus, but of them starting to infiltrate the Senate, background. Not necessarily, okay, someone's killing Jedi, okay, I could see that, but not necessarily reveal themselves or anything. I thought it was going to be more in the background, more about the Sith themselves.
Well, if it is in fact a direction to go towards sort of an introduction on the Knights of Ren, then it makes more sense, right? If you look at it again from what I was saying earlier, Disney's trying to sort of it's almost like they've de-emphasized Jedi versus Sith, and they're turning it into Jedi versus anyone else. In this case, I mean, we've seen it with the Night Sisters in the Ahsoka series. We've seen it in the sequel trilogy with sort of trying to distance themselves a little bit. And I think,
I don't understand. It's like they purposely trying to stick a finger in old fans that have. I mean, I understand wanting to do something new, but it's
well,
like they purposely.
I get the sense that it's more a feeling of, look, that's dated. We've done that as a in terms of where the franchise has been. So let's move in a different direction. We clearly see that with the castings. We clearly see that with certain choices on character choices. And so I think I'll give you a perfect example, which I thought was a huge miscue. And again, this is Disney. You could argue, well, that's something they brought up. They wanted to promote it, but I'm like, yeah, but you own the whole franchise now. Why wouldn't you appeal to fans of all ages, especially the ones that are going to spend the money at your park? In
Exactly.
other words, why did they decide to create this is a little bit off track, but I think you'll get why I'm bringing it up, which is I thought it was a big miscue at the parks when they decided to do Batu and the whole sequel trilogy characters. Like, those are First Order troopers; those aren't regular stormtroopers. The
Yeah.
only thing that's probably recognizable is some of the stuff that gets sold in the shop and the Millennium Falcon. That's it.
Well,
And
what gets sold when they announce things and they're sold, and you see stuff out there? It's all original or even prequel stuff. It's not
correct.
prequel stuff. I mean, I
Well,
personally myself, I spend tons of money, but I think I bought one sequel thing, and that was Luke Skywalker.
well, that's just
Anyways,
that.
getting back to the episode. So
Yeah.
so he runs off, and then we
Wait,
we
who? When you say he, who?
Smilo Ren, the
Okay.
stranger, he runs off. He's chasing Osha when he could have killed Yord, and then we cut to May fighting Jackie. But here's the question: is I felt I could understand her turn when she found her sister was alive, but the way they did it last episode was just ridiculous. I mean, it literally goes from one scene, her talking to the stranger, as we now know that's who it is.
Right.
I got to do this, I got to kill him, I got to kill these Jedi. To literally the very next scene she's in, she's saying, "Oh, well, I don't have to do this. I'm going to go surrender to the Jedi and tell them what I know." And I could understand the turn, but the way it was presented, there was no struggle. It just was ridiculous. So
Well, you
when she's fighting Jackie, if she had decided to surrender, why is she fighting?
well,
Why would
and
she
that's
say, "Hey,
why I mean, you could argue maybe the episode should be longer. I think it all boils down to just poor writing. That's really what it comes down to. If you can't figure that out in terms of how you want to write that and where you want to go from episode 1 to the final episode in a series, then you probably got no business doing writing for episodes for TV, or in this case for streaming platforms, because you're just going to make it more confusing for people. This really has become, to me, the story has become more convoluted than it need be. You've kind of introduced a few different arcs, a few different motivations. It's like, yeah, I get it as far as why certain people may feel a certain way, but to the viewer, it's not necessary. You're just distracting them. You should have just kept it very straight and simple. If it's a matter of some apprentice that's gone astray and now they want revenge, okay, but now you've got so many different layers and so many different missed opportunities, it kind of feels like you're all over the place. Again, uneven. The whole series has been uneven, but that goes back to poor directing, more importantly, poor writing.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so she's fighting with Jackie, which I actually really like that fight. Now they were saying, I heard a couple comments saying, well, how is Jackie holding her own? She's just a Padawan when this person had just fought and killed, Jedi Trinity. But, Obi-Wan was just a Padawan when he fought Darth Maul. So I don't
correct.
have a problem with her being good at fighting.
No, I think that's a
I
good
actually
point.
thought that was a really good fight scene. I
Yeah,
really liked Jackie as a well, the character, I mean, the actress
right,
that plays her, thought she
right.
did it really well. And but then once again, just going back to my notes, why is May still fighting? And then why does she, when when what's his name, the stranger shows up and starts fighting her? I thought it was stupid. She hits her saber on his helmet and it starts to click off. She stares at it, and then May runs away again, and Smilo Ren runs away again. Why do they keep running away when they have them on the ropes?
Well, and again, I agree. That's a good observation. It's the same thing I thought when she thought, well, we'll just leave him to the tree insects to take care of him. What? It's kind of like, and obviously we knew he was all going to survive from that, but again, it's these missed opportunities. Oh, again, I understand that you want to go from one episode to the other, draw viewers thinking, okay, I got to tune in the next episode to see what happens. Hey, at this point, I could care less. I mean, if he lives or he dies, it doesn't really matter to me. I think to sum everything up, in my opinion, I kind of base shows on or movies. Did I like it enough that I want to watch it again? And I think in this case, it's fairly clear. I made up my mind, I think, an episode or two ago. Yeah, there's nothing here that's really like making me feel like I want to see it again. And I'll watch the final episode to see it through to kind of see the complete story or see how screwed up she's that the crew has really turned this into. But yeah, I think they're all over the place, and if they think that they're going to, get my attention by thinking that the guy's been killed one or two more times, and they turn out to be missed opportunities. Again, that's just weak writing. It just feels
Yeah.
kind of like they're just stringing everybody along just to get to the last episode, and then whatever the payoff is going to be, we'll find out next week, I guess.
So then we go into his fight with the stranger's fight with Soul, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think Soul's pretty good. I did not like. I didn't like when Osha shouts out Soul when he's about to kill him, and then he's saying, and then Soul throws away his lightsaber. It's like,
yes, good point. I thought the same thing.
okay, maybe they don't go around killing people, but if you're in a fight, and even Mace Windu was about to kill Sidious because he felt he was too dangerous to be alive. I don't know. I didn't like that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
So he almost kills him. Okay, and then we go. Basically, he runs away again, and like you said, you just brought up, they do that whole moth thing, and
Right.
and then they go to May and Osha reunited, and obviously they're, what's going on? Who's lying about the fire? Did she set it or not? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's
Yeah.
so many questions, and I know they presented it as a mystery show. Okay, we got to unravel, but eventually you got to start answering some questions, and it's like they just keep putting more questions. Like, okay, and then Soul over here. Well, I'll tell you what really happened. What are they trying to imply? It's like it just
Yeah.
they're
I
getting away
again.
from Lucas's. There is good, there is evil, and they're trying to basically put it to what's his name when one of them said it's not about good or evil, it's about power and who's going to wield it. And it's like, no, there was good and evil in the Star Wars universe, but it's like modern times. Okay, well, you can't have good and evil. You can only have degrees or something like that, degrees of right or wrong.
I think good writing can if you want to, at the last episode, kind of at the end of a movie, there's a plot twist, and there's been some good ones. I can think of the one that first comes into my mind is Usual Suspects, right? Kevin Spacey's
Oh
character, all
yeah,
of a sudden, right? You're like, oh my God, he is Kaiser Soze, right? So
yeah,
here, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, there could still be a reveal at the end, but I think there's going to be like 4 or 5 different probably plot lines that were opened up through the course of the series that probably won't get resolved. And then, so in other words, as a viewer, I'm trying to figure out from episode 1 to episode 6, oh, what about this, or what about that, or how does this tie into, well, you shouldn't be introducing those new concepts in episode 5, which was this last week's. You should be, like you said, wrapping up some of those questions, or at least expanding, so you get a clearer picture of what the motivation was, but not creating more questions at this point. Here's another one. What's so bad about Master Soul? What did he do to piss this guy off? Or what's the connection? Was he again, there's
Yeah,
a
when he
lot.
says you don't remember me, so is he just talking about when he met him in the shop that time, or is there something else from the past? And why would he know that? How would he know that Soul lied to OSHA about what really happened?
Yeah, exactly. There's just too many plot lines and too many unanswered questions that I think aren't going to be wrapped up satisfactorily for the viewer in the next episode. So it's a hot mess. I mean, as a series, I think there's little points that I thought, oh, this would be cool. I'd like to find out more about this character, or oh, I'd like to find, I'm interested in that. But as a series, I think it's just it lost me. Somewhere along the way, I just figured, well, I mean, I'll watch it through to say, okay, I've been able to watch the series, but it's not something I'd go back to and watch again and again.
So the end of this episode. So
Sure.
the girl switch. Well, let's start out with that haircutting scene, which I thought was ridiculous. And even though people were saying, well,
Right.
that's Jedi never cut their hair with the lightsaber, and they bring up the time when Anakin had became a Jedi Knight, and Yoda cut his Padawan braid off with the lightsaber. Okay, that's one thing. I could see it. Okay, maybe, but it just looked ridiculous. Her sticking her head out, and I mean, what was that? And why they already did the whole thing of, okay, is OSHA really the killer? Oh, she has a twin. Blah blah blah. Why are they going back to that whole thing? And how did Soul not know? How could he not feel? I mean, the Jedi are not all powerful, but how did he not know that's
Well,
not?
speaking on that note, quickly, it's funny. I also thought the same thing when he said, "Well, take your helmet off so I can," And I'm thinking you should kind of be able to figure out what's so special about the helmet. Does the metal not only block
It's a
lightsabers?
Magneto helmet.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, wait a second, are we in the right franchise? I don't understand what is it about that helmet that all of a sudden he couldn't figure out. He should be able to pick up on the intentions, and perhaps if he's a master, you would think he'd have some ability to sort of read his mind, or I don't know. I just
And it's not like the Jedi can't be fooled by the Sith, because here we go back to the original trilogy, or the prequel rather. You got Mace, Anakin, and all them right there in front of Palpatine. They never knew.
yeah,
They
yeah,
get
but
fooled, but like you said, there they are. He knows he's a bad guy. Why can't he sense who he is? And then when they leave, and he leaves off with May, who he thinks is OSHA, why doesn't he take the bodies? Why, he looks at Jackie right there, just leaves her there.
yeah, that again, just a lot of unanswered questions, and I don't think we're going to get a satisfactory resolution by the end of the series. So I think we're all going to leave at least for fans, that have been with the franchise for many years, just walk away scratching our head probably when this is all done. Now, I don't know. You mentioned earlier there's a new group of viewers out there. What are they saying? Do they love the show?
Yeah, I follow them just because I follow everybody, but
Yeah, yeah.
man, they are all over this show, like how great it is, and
Wow.
blah blah blah. It's like, it just sucks because you can't, if you're at all critical, like there's even they put together a video, and they says, Star Wars for all of us, and blah blah blah, and it's just, there are racists and misogynists and not everybody out there, and they should all be called out by all of us. But that doesn't mean just because you didn't like it, that's what you are.
Well, a good example, race never came up once until you just mentioned it in the last half hour. So I think we're looking at it critically, certainly as longtime fans, but I guess maybe the newer generation, those maybe in their teens, 20s, they're looking at it with a different eye, perhaps. And maybe that's just because of their upbringing or whatever education they've had. But
Yeah.
to me, just because, like you said earlier, just because someone may disagree or have a problem with a particular part of the show or the script or acting or whatever aspect of the show or series, it doesn't mean that we're, plug in whatever you want to call someone. It doesn't mean you're a bigot. Doesn't mean you're a racist. It just means, look, from a viewer standpoint, you've got problems with the show, and I think rightly so. I think we pointed those out all of this episode.
And then just to wrap up this episode, I don't know if you rewatched it and noticed that they do, when he's doing that force heal, they do play a little bit of Kylo Ren's theme, and he must know it's OSHA because he would know that it's not he would know that it's not May, because he's been trying to kill May literally the whole episode, and he didn't kill her, so he must know it's OSHA.
Right. Well, the midichlorians would have told him, right? Yeah. I don't know. I agree with you, though. It just seems there's some questions that just aren't going to get answered, and I think some problems with the way things are being played out in terms of the plot, the script, in terms of it just doesn't add up, right? And why would he not know this, or why would he know that and not know something else? So to me, it's problematic. So
yeah, well, overall, I've been a little disappointed, but I'll be honest with you. I've been with Star Wars long enough to, especially after Return of the Jedi, when we went through the lean years and we had
the dark years, yeah.
All we had was Marvel and green bunny rabbits. And, that didn't bother me. So, kind of dumb shows. Because I even liked Ewok Adventures, stuff like that. But
well, if you watch it through, like at that time, I was probably 12 or 13. I that was all we had, right? And you're like, yeah, I'll eat that up. If you.
I don't mind shows that deviate and are a little bit meant for different audiences.
Right.
Realistically, the only thing I ever hated was what they did with Luke Skywalker in that movie.
Right.
That must not be named. So I can't say I hate this show, but I would say I'm more like agreeing with you that there are a lot of problems, and I don't see how. I just don't understand how they could spend all this money, have all this time, and make stuff like this. I think it really, everybody blames Kathleen Kennedy, and I think she has a big target on her back because of that. But maybe we started looking at Filoni too. Maybe he's not the golden boy we all think he is.
Well, did he have a hand in this, or was that more Kathleen?
Yeah, he's the. Supposedly Helen said he gave the blessing, and it was even his idea to bring Kylo Mundi in there and all that. And
well, how about this? There could also be, you know as well as I do, in any workplace environment, there's always workplace politics, and maybe in Filoni's mind, he's like, look, I got my edge of the universe over here. I'm working with Favreau. I'm good. And they bring this idea forward. And he's like, yeah, let's give this gal an opportunity. Let's let her run with it. And you know what? By the way, it takes place 100 years before any of my stuff. So who cares? I don't have to tie it in. But since I'm the guy making these calls now, he feels probably like, yeah, let's give her a shot. But so I don't know if I'm going to hold it against them per se. But I think we've had this discussion for the last several years. I think Kathleen Kennedy certainly has some role in culpability to blame her for some of the miscues since the franchise was sold to Disney, why things have kind of turned out the way they have. Filoni only recently has been given the authority to do more with what he has. So I don't know. We'll see. But hey, I'm a Star Wars fan. I'll watch the stuff, and then I can pick and choose what I like and don't like. That's how life works.
That's right. All right, Polly. Well, thanks for joining me.
You bet.
Maybe
thanks for having me.
Maybe we can do it again next week. We'll see how this episode goes. But anyways, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care now.
All right. And for everybody else, thanks for joining me. We'll talk soon.